You are now listening to CTR Media Network.
The family. CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Neverlasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you're asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself, your health and zip. We got it, reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network. Start the show. CTR Media Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to CTR Media Network TV show. So what if the biggest obstacle to your success wasn't your qualifications, but the unspoken rules no one ever warned you about? Today, we're diving into this conversation that is courageous, eye-opening, and one that many people have lived, but very few have dared to tell their story. Our featured guest today is Chinyere M Udeh, author of Corporate Corruption and the Unspoken Rules, True Life Story of Chinyere Udeh, and I hope I said that correctly. In this powerful memoir, she shares her journey through workplace discrimination, retaliation, abuse of power, and the emotional toil of navigating corporate America while refusing to lose her voice. This is more than just a conversation about one person's experience. It's about truth, resilience, justice, and the courage to stand when the system expects you to stay silent. Chinyere, thank you so much for being on the show today. And we are going to have a deep dive conversation into your true life story and for you to share your truth. Thank you so much for deciding to be a featured guest on our show. And we're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is my pleasure. So my favorite first question is this. When all of this happened, when did you first realize what you were experiencing wasn't fair? It was unfair. And what part of this much bigger system, meaning corporate America, that needed to be exposed?
I would start to say that my experience and when it comes to this book and the Chinyere Udeh is similar to each other because 2015 up until 2020 or 2023, I took a Jenny Lane into her shoes. Why still in corporate America and the discrimination and everything. So when I ghost wrote this book, I wasn't a stranger to what goes on in corporate America, but Chinyere happened to be my childhood friend, and I was in real time when this was happening to her. I wasn't shocked, but she was, because this was like her first time encountering such a thing. Initially, she brushed it off, thinking that if she become more nicer and kinder to most of her Caucasian leaders and peers and supervisors, that they would learn to be nice and treat her like a human, which never happened. But everything slapped her face when she was excused of her job unfairly because they believed that her kind and type should never have been hired in the first place, and hiring her was a mistake. For what I intend, I wish that such prejudged mindset in corporate America or any corporate society or country should be eliminated, and we should see humans as humans and what we bring to the table. Just like the Dr. Martin Luther King said, let's judge each other by what is inside of us, not where we're coming from or the content of our skin color, you know.
Yes. So with this topic, many times we hear about discrimination. We may even see it on movies, we hear about it in songs, but it's a little bit different when you get a bird's eye view of seeing yourself or someone that you love go through this. And you may talk about it amongst yourself, but what gave you the courage to say, I'm not just going to talk about this behind closed doors. I am going to share this out. I'm going to tell my story. And I'm not just going to tell my story. I'm going to write a book about it. I'm going to go on these podcasts and TV shows talking about a topic that can really cause people to look at you not in a good light, even though it's your story. So what gave you the courage to do it? Because it's a topic that needs to be talked about. But what was it that said, I'm going to do this? And I know it's not easy.
Well, is my hunger to facilitate and inspire change. And I do know that change comes with a cost, and someone has to start the movement. Someone has to be the sacrificial lamb. And I don't really mind being that voice behind their movement, because again, we go through this all the time as human race, and most people have either given up on it, turned a blind eyes, and maybe numbed about it. But in reality, it is not okay. It is need to be talked about more. It needs to be brought to the front line, right, and call it what it is, and hopefully something could be done about it.
I agree with you on that, because when we think about trauma is something that really can move and shift your life in a way that even though physically you're getting older, you're growing, you're moving around, but you're still held back to that place and that time in which the trauma began. And so it's very difficult, because usually the victim is the one that get I would say, the bad end of the stick. I don't know what it is with society, but society as a whole, not everybody, but as a whole, from what I've seen with my experiences, they attack the victim. So you being so brave to be a start of a movement to share the corruption that you have personally seen and also experienced is something that I feel needs to be. I'm proud of you, because this is not something that is easy to say. And especially when you think of being a woman of color, you already have different factors against you anyway. And the fact that you're going in on a topic that it's not too many of us in the highest level in corporate America. So for those who have made it, they want to keep that position. So this that can make you lose the position. So my thing is this: you describe experiences with discrimination, retaliation inside of the book, and abuse of power. So how did those experiences affect your confidence, or you were saying about your friend, mental health, or your sense of identity? Your sense of identity when you're dealing with something that's so traumatic.
Me personally, when I encountered mine, like I briefly say, from 2015 to 2023, that was during my correctional journey. I told her that hers was just a walk in the park. At least the Caucasian was surprised that her toenails were all accounted for, But mine was, I was made to eat spoiled food at work. And I was told that I couldn't speak English, write English, because I was an immigrant, So she has a support system. Sometimes we handle it as a form of comparison, of trauma comparison. She telling me hers, I acknowledge it, but I'm telling her, wish she was there when mine happened. I'm like, shit, at least you're not eating spoiled food at work. At least no one was preventing you from storing your food in the refrigerator or using a microwave or attending a roll call, which was in my situation. That was what happened, but it still does not make it okay that you would criminally profiled someone that you have never met just because they were born in Nigeria. So it's more like a humor support system by comparing discrimination versus discrimination in a workplace so that she could understand that she's not alone. This has happened to so many people. It doesn't make it okay, but life has to go on. When they win is when we stop trying and advancing ourselves. And I always remind her that the main reason why our parents brought us to America is to pursue liberty, life, and happiness. And we're going to encounter a lot of people in our journey that believe that our kind and type should never have been hired in the first place. So, but we got to just keep it going, so that we could make the ones that brought us here proud, and the ones that are waiting for our progress back home proud too. So that has been a way of my own coping mechanism and her own coping mechanism, and together we just forge ahead in life.
You brought up a topic, and I don't even think you realize the topic that you brought up. We are both women of color, raised in two different ways. You're on one side of the earth at one time, I'm on the other side. But yet we both have different challenges that we incur for being a woman and then being a woman of color. But I have never had the thought or the idea of your perspective of being a person who is an immigrant coming to the United States, because let me just keep it real. I don't know what it is with people of color that's part of different countries. Okay. We on one side feeling like y'all have it easy when y'all come over here because you get to get all of these grants and different funding and different stuff that we can't even get. And now I'm hearing your perspective, and I'm loving this conversation because it's going to be an eye opener, because now I'm hearing your perspective of you coming over to another country, speaking English, and they're saying you're not speaking English, making you eat rotten food. And you're going through another layer of discrimination that we have not experienced because we are considered quote unquote American, but all of us is dealing with discrimination. And then we turn around and discriminate against each other.
Yeah, I know. And and that's the thing. I always believe that a closed mouth does not get fed. The other parties are thinking that this party is having it good, but in reality, are we really having it good, or are we just faking to make it, or are we don't really know that something is being done to us? I previously said that in my other podcast that we are not, I'm speaking in general to the continent of Africa, that were either brought here or raised here. We were not born in a country that is full of discrimination, because everybody in the continent is Black. The only thing we compete among each other is the country that has the most prettiest women, curvy women that can cook jollof rice, that their men are more handsome or got more money. That's what we compete in the entire continent, at least when I left. But coming to a different country, when someone will automatically dislike you for just how you look and sound is cultural shocking, not just to me, but for the entire continent that are living in European countries or Western countries. It wasn't what we were born or raised in. And most of it, when they are doing it to us, we don't know. The only time that we get to know which what happened to Chama is when the whole thing went to extreme that people start looking and verbally saying it to you, you know. And I always say that for the ones that were born and raised here, like the Americans, you guys can easily pick it up in a mile. Ours, it can be staring at our face. We don't know what it is. We felt like if we work more harder, don't complain, be more nicer, that hopefully the people will be much nicer to us, or maybe something that we do or did, but in reality, it's not. You know, it's just not. So what was born in you and raised in you is there. It just, fortunately, most of the continent, we weren't born or raised that someone will see us and don't like us because we sound different or we our color, you know.
Mm. You know,
And it hurts.
Oh, yeah, it hurts. It hurts with living in a place where you're born and raised and you're not accepted, no matter what you do, no matter how much education, no matter what your price bracket, no matter where you, family lineage, it doesn't matter, because you have in certain areas, pockets of the world in the United States, it doesn't matter because you're of color. And then it's another layer because you are a woman. Okay. And so I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because we are taught to believe that we are so different, but we're so the same, even though our perspective may be our experiences may be different, because I never even thought about your perspective from growing up in a continent with everybody looking like you. I mean, wow, what a I can't even imagine. You know, I can't even imagine. And so coming here, I can see how I'm glad I'm getting your side of it, from so that this can pull both worlds together. Pull both worlds together, because we need to stop being on these separate islands. We come together, okay? We're all dealing with different things. However, the common core is it's because of our skin. It's because of the way we sound. It's because of the way we look. And if someone has hatred in their heart, it don't matter how smart, how pretty, how good, how tall, how thin you are, it's not going to matter. And so I'm so glad that you decided to not be silent, to share your story, to be courageous, and to now be going on your tour of sharing this, because you just enlightened me. You just enlightened me that I going out in the world now, I'm no longer the same Tina, because now I realize we're one in the same, battling the same issue, but based upon our experiences, we may approach things differently, because we can pick it up and you can't until you're so deep in it and you be like, wait a minute, this is right food. What you mean? Okay, so wow. This is like something else. So my thing is this. When I think about what you're sharing with culture, what you're sharing with corporate America, you did not let that stop you. What you decided to do was that you said, okay, I'm not going to share my story. I'm going to write a book. I'm not only going to write a book, I'm going to start a publishing company. So how in the world you transition from going from your book to saying, I'm going to do my publishing? And for those of you who do not know, this is her publishing, honey, All Martha's Writers LLC publishing company. So what made you go to that?
Again, I always believe that what did not kill me, that was intended to kill me, will only make me more stronger. You know, coming to America at the age of 17, watching U.S. combat military war, U.S. Investigation and forensic investigation, and how justice are served, and the justice system, and how people from different skin colors are there. That was what ignited me. And I say to myself, once I get to America, this is what I want to do to bring justice to the unjust. Publishing firm, being an international author, going on a global tour was never part of the plan until the switch that switched in me in 2019, when I was accused, when I was a correctional officer, that I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't speak English because of my immigrant background. And the state medical instructed my department to terminate my employment as a correctional officer to a DNA collector and a project management. So that was when my journey into storytelling arose, because I'm not a doctor. I have to prove at some point that I could read, write, and speak English and hopefully have my job. So I was able to prove that, but I never got my job back. But I continued to write. That was when I wrote my first book, Corruption in the Division of Corrections, which spilled from 2015 to 2023. Yes, 5 different volumes. So that was what launched my writing career. And I have been a CEO for a publishing firm for 5 years now. It started when I said, I need to create a platform, a company whereby people can freely come, all walks of life, to tell their story without a fear of being judged or unworthy. Because most of the publishing firms out here, they are worried about legal liability from the shock holders. But I am not, because with my background in the justice system, there is a way that I could refine the story, but we are still telling the same story. The people we're talking about will know that we're talking about them, but would they legally do anything to us? No. So that was what motivated me to create All Marthas, to be an avenue for marginalized voices to come and tell their stories, and to call the abusers for whom and what they are without legally getting in trouble.
Oh, girl, that's powerful. Okay. Ooh, you got me moving in my chair. Okay. So I heard what you said, where you had said that you being a publisher was not on your radar. That was not something that you wanted to do. You used to watch different things about the United States, the Army, and all that. And you was like, you're a girl that was dreaming, just like Martin Luther King. You had that dream. You're like, when I come to America, I'm going to do criminal justice. And for FYI, she mentioned this book. You guys, you can go get it from Amazon. She got multiple ones, so go check them out. A Will for Justice. Literally, everything shifted when they started accusing you that you couldn't read, you couldn't write, you didn't understand, and all this other kind of stuff, which you could. clearly, I'm talking to you now. You're speaking clear English. Clearly. I mean, so I don't know what that came from, but it was that discrimination in corporate America that you were speaking about. But it's something the way God do things, because due to your experience in corporate America dealing with justice and the law, it enabled you to create a safe haven, which is called All Martha's Writers Publishing Company, LLC, where now people who have been normally have been silenced with the trauma and the different things and the corruption and discrimination that happened in corporate America because of what can happen to them legally. Now you have the knowledge of knowing how they can truly share their story without the legal ramifications, and they can start healing because they're getting it out. And as they heal, as they share, they're helping more than one person because you understand the law. Oh my God. Look at I mean, okay, that's just, I mean, when you're on purpose, sometimes we don't really understand or see purpose when we're actually working within it. But then when we get out of certain things and we can see full circle how it's going, clearly that was always a part of the plan, that you was going to be this person, this conduit to be able to help the people who have been systematically silenced on purpose. On purpose. On purpose.
And that is the hurtful part of it, because sometimes I just wonder, I don't really understand. But one thing that I normally assure my client is, we're going to tell your story the correct way, the right way. They're not going to come after you legally. And you and I know, or I know from the law enforcement part, people always look for other means to try to retaliate when it comes to the physical aspect of the retaliation, when the legal aspect does not work. I covered the base inside the book by telling the whole planet whom and where to look for if anything like that to ever happen. So I'm not just covering the legal side, I'm equally covering any physical harm on that person, because everybody now know who did it and where to look, because all the evidence and information will be inside that book. And that person or those people will be dumb enough to want to try anything. Everybody knows where to look, so I always tell them that as well.
I have never heard this in all my life of interviewing, and I'm trust and believe I have been able to be fortunate to meet so many different business owners over this span of 10 years in podcasting. And I have never, ever heard of a publishing company that is like this for the, I would say, for the vulnerable community, the ones who have been told that they don't matter, the ones who have been disregarded, the ones that the people who did it to them is so high up that they can completely ruin their life and livelihood. And this can not just be from one person. This can be generational because of the stigma of your name. And now you're here to tell me it's a publishing company that not only knows the legalities of the law, but also getting your stuff inside a book, which is concrete evidence, and then turn around and protect the person who writes. Now
from physical harm, because again, I have been in that shoe of physical harm, death attempts, death threats. I have been there. A lot has been done to me. So I will be a fool not to take home anything from it. Most of the publishing firm or the CEOs might not even have maybe they have watched it in Orange, the New Black, or the new, the prison, whatever. But I have lived it real time, 2015 to 2023, day in, day out. So I took home a lot of knowledge with it, and I also do not like people on top believing because they are on top they can do anything, forgetting that the rich also cries. you know I
Mhm.
always tell people that the people that live in a glass house should try not to throw a stone to people that are living in a mud house, because out of anger, someone that live in a mud house will pick up a stone and throw at the glass house and destroy all their expensive things. And that is where all mothers come into play, that live in a mud house and is willing to throw a stone to destroy all your expensive stuff.
Well, wow, wow, wow. So you telling us about not just the end result of what you created, but most importantly, what I like is that you're sharing the part that was hard, the part that was a very dark time when you had to go through all of this different stuff, and you decided to not just waste that experience, but bottle it up in a way that it could be able to be useful and impactful in the world for the individuals that have experienced similar things like you, and making sure that they understand that they are loved, they are valued, their story matters, that that wasn't right, that I see you. Because at the end of the day, people want to know that they're seen, they're heard, they're respected. And it's just something about when someone tried to dehumanize you in a way that, and depending upon how long that period of time was of disrespect, will in a lot of ways determine how long it's going to take you to be able to heal yourself. But the sad thing is, who you're going to talk about it with. Okay. And so now they have this outlet with your company. They have the outlet, not just a person who started a company just because they wanted to start it, but it has a mission, it has a vision, it has an intention. And most importantly, you navigated this terrain before them. And so you see it from the north, east, south, and west. Let's put it on a compass. You see it from all of those different angles. And this is more than a publishing company, in my opinion.
Thank you.
It's more than a publishing company. It's helping people to be whole again, and that is, we have a lot of broken people in the world today, and to give them that voice where they can write it down and let it out, so they can let it go. Well, I ain't gonna say let it go, but let it go from where it's harming them or disrupting their life. I would say it like that. So when I think about your leadership and accountability, and I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of corporate America, we see the problems, you're addressing the problems, we talked about the problems, but in your opinion, what responsibility do we have as leaders to create a safe place for the ones to get equality within the workplace? I mean, is it some type of parameters that corporate America can do? Or in your opinion, what can be done?
I would say first, let's put a qualified individuals there. That you can do a job does not mean that you have the capability or ability of leading people.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can be good. That's good. But having the ability to lead others has and requires a special skill set, which from what I have experienced and Chama have experienced, they do not have those skill set. They were either placed there because they know someone in the leadership position that just slide them there, or that they can play the corporate politics and turn a blind eye. So those are the hallmark of where we should start to actually reform everything. And another thing is, um, from my experience and hers, different corporate America constitute different predominantly people you're going to encounter. Let's divertize those environment. Like where Chama worked, it was predominantly Caucasians. Africans, they barely hire Africans there. African Americans is like 1 out of 20 Caucasians. Then when they finally get an African person there, they're looking at the person like a movie. But in reality, they're not a movie, they are humans. So divertization of talents and candidates in those predominantly places is also required. And I do know organizations and companies can do but so much. When it comes to the staffing itself, can we please equip ourselves with the updated version of what is going on around the world? It is sad that in 2026 that Chalmers Caucasian leadership supervisors and colleagues were surprised that she has a deodorant on and perfume and her hair was kept and her toenails were accounted for. It is absolutely insane. So self-development, researching what other people from other countries looks like in 2026 will also kind of help people to catch up when they encounter people from other countries or race or anything.
Yeah, I agree. We need to have this conversation amongst ourselves as people of color so that we can get on the same page. But then also as corporate America, people who own their own businesses, we need to have a candid conversation with each other because we have differences, but also we have more alike than different. Okay. And we kind of skirt around the issue. We need to have these conversations. We need to have some type of training, especially when you get in with corporate America, because it needs to be a certain type of sensitivity to certain things based upon the group of people that you are helping or assisting with at that time. Because culturally, we have different experiences that all need to be addressed in the way that we communicate to each other, the way that we talk, the way that we handle different things, because we're different, but yet we're all human beings. The core is we're all human. Everybody, we human. So we need to have these conversations. It's not always easy. However, I feel like if we have more of these conversations and be open to actually not just hearing, but listening to what the other person says with the intention of I want to make it better. I want to make it better. I feel like we will be in such a better place. But when you think about your books and everything that you're doing and your experiences, what do you want people to pull away from your book? To pull away, because this is the book we're actually talking about, y'all, and it is actually on Amazon right now, where like she's talking about it, we're talking about it a little bit, but you want to get the meat and potatoes, you need to go pick it up from Amazon right now. So what do you want people to pull from that book? Because in my opinion, from what I read, we're looking at corporate America, but I can see how this book can be adapted to just regular social awareness of how we communicate with others, like going into a doctor office, going into a grocery store. How do you perceive people and how do you treat them? Because you can get discrimination from walking outside, going to the mailbox. You know? So I feel like your book is more than just even though you focus on corporate America, but I can see how it parallels with a person's life. And so what do you want people? Because I don't want people just to think, oh, I'm not a part of corporate America. I work in a factory, so it's not applying to me. I don't think so. I think you can pull information from it that is justifiable, that can help you shift your mind to be able to see things that you normally wasn't aware of. And also it can do, I feel like it's just so universal. That's just my opinion from what I've read thus far. I haven't read the whole book, but I read some of it. And I'm like, this is more than just corporate, because we dealing with some of this with people going to school. They go to school, they go to college, you get different places. I'm like, this can really be applied. So I personally want my audience to know this is more than just corporate, in my opinion. You can, no matter what you want for life, you can glean something from it.
Sure. So the book, in as much as it is centered or drafted or written in a form of corporate, but the book overall, it is highlighting and acknowledging the systemic racism that we all known, seen, experienced. Some have gone numb to, but the book is actually diving a little bit step further how the systemic racism is the direct founder of corporate corruption and its unspoken rules. And in the middle, it tells the story of the young lady, while still highlighting the bigger picture that it is a systemic racism that is actually spilled into our corporate section before we are even old enough to get a job. And it questions the system and the people that practices this practice, and asked, how can minorities within the system coexist with such a systemic issue? And at the end, to acknowledge the young lady's journey in corporate America, he envisioned her place whereby an African-born Americans and American-born Americans can walk together side by side to support our nation. And that is now a universal kind of a talk, because like you mentioned, this side think they have it good, the other side think they have it good, but at the end of the day, no one has it good. It's just like this side don't really talk more because they believe that the system we should, or already said you should be happy that you are in America to start with. And the other side, the system has to create a space for them and must create a space. So it's a different kind of vibe from each of this end. But working together in unity is what the book brings. So it could be applied to everything and anything, especially with this kind of, I call it political climax that we are in as a nation. Working together. And the book also acknowledged the power in unity, and there is always a strength in numbers.
I agree with that. It's so easy to see how we are different and what we lack. In the beginning of the conversation, when you was talking about Chimney and yourself, you was talking about how her discrimination, your problems, her problems, and then you start like leveling it, like, okay, well, I went through more than you, and you went. At the end of the day, we're all going through something. And so I like how the book shows it. I love the way you explain it, because it's like a buildup of starting with helping us see what the problem is, but then also seeing how not solving this problem actually spilled over into the workplace, because it always existed over here in regular life, but then now we're seeing it on a higher heightened level once you start getting into the workforce. And then what are you going to do when you need to provide for your family? Because it's a different situation it's different when you over here and you don't have any responsibilities and you're like, oh no, don't do this. But once you have responsibility, how do you handle it then? And you and I and many people start to take more than we should because we trying to just have a livelihood.
Exactly. And also, even if with a closer look, we can dive it into our education and the justice system, which the book also dive deeper. For others, this is the physical copy of the book. So the book also dive in our housing disparity, justice system when it comes to the sentencing structure and how the harsh, so it dive even the medical sector. It dive in a lot of areas that everyone at some point is experiencing, but some are able to pick it up, some are not because they are ignorant of it. Some is as a result of they have been normed or just socialize it as it just what it is. Others, especially the ones that are coming from the continent, have either just don't recognize it because this is not what we are born, raised into, or is appreciative of being in America, and can't say anything because they hear suffering and smiling.
And because you have the situation, which I never thought of it from you guys' perspective before until today, you're being away from home and everything that you know, and you're carrying the hopes and dreams of everybody that you left behind. So you're thinking, if I just, it's making me get emotional. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. So you bear it for the sake of legacy, to make a better place for the ones that's left behind. And they're depending on you to be the hope to change the family,
Exactly.
financially, to change them status-wise, all the things. You're weighing that on your shoulder. So why should you complain when you're in a country that allow you to come and work? But then you're thinking about, if I say this, it's going to harm or hurt the family that put all of their time, effort, energy, and resources to allow me to be in this place to make it better for our family. I never really, it hit me hard because you don't know another person's perspective until you sit down and have a conversation like this. That's why I love podcasting, because it helped me to be able to see things from different perspectives, from your perspective, and realizing that everybody has something that they're battling with and they're dealing with. But at the core of it all, it's dealing with us being treated as human beings. I mean,
Exactly. And it get even much more deeper, which I know. I always tell people that after high school here in America, I left the African community to go to African American community to get ready and prepare for my future. Most of the things that I do and have done, I am like the first in my entire bloodline to do that. And it comes with a lot of shoes.
yeah.
And complaining that a white man did you something is out of equation. You just have to toughen up and put a smile on your face and greet that white man when you see him.
Jesus.
It's just the reality.
Yes. I'm you getting choked up. I'm getting choked up because we're finally seeing the truth. And this is what the truth look like. And this is what it feels like. It's very emotional because you're fighting against, it's like you're fighting against the stream. The stream is coming, the current is trying to knock you down, but just keep pushing because you know if you get on the other side, everything will be better for the people who you left behind.
Exactly. And they sometimes tell me, if you have to greet them, greet them. If you have to punish their shoe and make you, if you have to fake it, Chinyere, fake it.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
wow,
know,
wow, wow.
it's just what it is. It's my, but at the end of the day, as human, and I sometimes tell them, if I keep on this, I will one day lose my humanity of whom and what and my identity as a human on earth. And it will be pointless being here if I lose whom I am as a human just because majority of what I'm doing, I am the first person in my bloodline to do it. And I don't have a roadmap.
And see, when you are the first, when you are pioneering and ushering in a new way of life that is going against every single letdown, heartbreak, trauma that your family's been going through for generation to generation, there is no room for you to say, I can't do this. There's no room to say, this is hard. Over here, they say, suck it up. Suck it up. That's what we say. Suck it up. Bear it and just move through. And so, and I can identify with you on certain things because I was the first to ever go to a college in my family that I can recall up to my immediate family. And then I was the first to start a media company. And so it comes with a lot of you want to do well, you want to do good, but media is not an industry where we're seeing a lot. Okay. And so I get what you're saying. We're part of two different worlds in the industry, but dealing with the same type of concrete thing. And so I get emotional because I finally see that we're really not that different. I'm finally seeing
No.
as I do a lot of research, and I'm like, why can't we all the brown and melanated just come together? And now I see, because we're blinded thinking that this side got it better than that side. And guess what? Like you said before, ain't no side better than
No side. And another thing is, it was a calculative move to kind of deter others from each other. At least when I was growing up, they showed us movies from the movie that I saw about the justice system while still in my home country as a kid. And sure and believe you, they showed me not just the justice system, they showed me people that look like me killing people and people that look like the other side, finding them and persecuting them. And why on this end they showing you guys about we living on the trees with tigers and everything. So I think it was a calculative move to make sure that everyone is just like this.
Yeah. And it's sad but true, because over here we're seeing so many, we thinking Africa or the continent in itself is just poverty. We're thinking everybody is malnutrition, because that's what they showed us. Don't donate here, do this to feed the kids. And then when I started doing research myself, I was like, Africa is beautiful. I'm like, wait a minute now. Every country, every place have homelessness, have poverty. But growing up, we saw nothing but poverty. Speaking for myself,
Yeah.
I never saw beautiful green grass, beautiful homes, well dressed, until I went and got older and started doing my independent research. And I was like, wait a minute, somebody,
Exactly.
So I can see that, and I just don't want people who watching this episode, because we have a vast audience from all over the earth. We have 175 countries, thanks to God. We are all over the world, and we do have some people that are Caucasian. We are not anti-Caucasian, but we are sharing the
No,
experience
we're
of
not.
her. We're not. And so we're having this candid conversation so that you can learn through listening to us have this conversation real time, so that we can be better as a whole, as people of color, and better as people who are not of color, so that we can come on the same page, or at least be able to humanize people. We're all human beings at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Whew.
Exactly. And the sometime in as much as I haven't gotten a chance to physically or in person met one of the supervisors at Chama place, former place of work. His name is Jamal Jackson. So the first time Chummer came in there, when the Caucasian leaders wanted her to be the last day, it was Jamal, the only Black American in the leadership position, that said, no, Chummer is not going anywhere because we haven't given her the opportunity to prove herself. There is no justification. So for her not voting her out was the reason why Chama got to stay until the Caucasian leaders framed Jamal and kicked him out of his position. That was when they came after Chama. So if I ever had the opportunity to meet Jamal in person, I know that I would definitely appreciate him at least saying something despite him being outnumbered in a corporate America of today.
Yeah, that that does. He deserves some recognition because he didn't have to. So often
And
we, so often people see something wrong, some type of injustice, and they just stand on the sideline and watch. They don't do anything. So for him having a high level position, which is putting his job on the line to humanize another individual and want justice for it to be fair. And unfortunately, he lost his job, and she, however, I know that wherever he is at, I hope that he is prosperous and doing even better than he ever thought, because he did such a good thing, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, to stand up when you're outnumbered, to stand up when
that
there's
is
hatred, to stand up when people just don't like you just because. Really no good reason. They just don't like you, because of
that
how
is
you look. So, yeah. So, is there anything else you would like to share that we may have not talked about that you want to share, or with our audience today?
sure. I would say buy the book, read the book. We all have stories to tell. Allow all Martha's writers to tell your stories the correct way before someone else tells it for you the wrong way, and you might not be there to defend yourself. I do offer ghostwriting services for those that are busy at work or life from writing their own stories. And also, if you see something, please say something to save someone. Turning a blind eye no longer help because you will not know when your neighbor or you are being attacked and by whom. So see something and say something to save someone.
Hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your story, being transparent, walking us through not just your life story, but the other young lady, and also giving recognition and honor to Jamal, who stepped up, even though he lost his job. However, it's heartwarming to see somebody being a humanitarian, in a world that has so much chaos, hatred, just disorder, to see someone that is being the way God intended us to be, love one another. Okay. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for coming on CTR Media Network TV show. We enjoyed hearing your story. Again, you guys, go ahead. I'm going to put you backstage so you can wait backstage for a little while, and I am going to close the show out, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. You guys, listen, she was absolutely amazing, and I know I don't usually have interviews where I'm going deep, especially when I'm talking about race. We get deep, but we get deep about media, marketing, podcasting, business, self-improvement. But I feel like in this season, with what we're going through, with the current landscape of what we see, it's very important that I am responsible with allowing ones to share their story in a way that is going to make a positive impact. Her truth is her truth. Her life is her life. And I feel that she needed to be able to share that voice along with us having that perspective. And the goal of this episode was to pull all of us together so that we can see that at the end of the day, we're really not all that different. Okay? It's time for us to come together. It's time for us to love each other. It's time for us to start celebrating the things that we are different, where we're different, and start coming together with the things that we already have alike, which is the core. We're all human beings. So on this note, we had Chinyere M Udeh. I hope I said it right. But anyway, she really went over and beyond the unbreakable rule of corporate America and this one woman's fight for truth. And this one woman created a movement in which she is bringing you along the way where you can you can break those chains of oppression, break those chains of trauma, and be able to move forward by having the courage to share your story. Have the courage. And so this was a great episode, and make sure that you follow her on social media. Make sure that you check her out with her publishing if you need ghostwriting services, or if you just want to publish your book. This is the book in which we're talking about today, which is available on Amazon. But when you look up her name, you will see that she provides many other books that she have available, that you can have more than, you can go and purchase those books as well. You guys, as always, I want to thank you for being a part of our CTR Nation. Yes, that is our viewing audience, because we go across the nation, and it is time for you to walk in purpose. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. And we look forward to sharing your story with the world. We'll see you next time on the next episode with CTR Media Network TV, where content meets impact. Have a great, amazing rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, you have any closing remarks before we head out?
Y'all, please support the movement of CTR Media Network. I'm telling you, being a part of this amazing media family, I can't go wrong, right? They have the support. They support us in all that we do. If we have questions, they take the time out to advise and mentor. So definitely check out the different plethora of shows that are on the network. I promise you, and I'm not saying this because I'm part of the family, but I promise you, you will be uplifted, inspired, educated, motivated, all the good stuff that we all need to carry ourselves out through the day. So definitely go check it out, y'all.
Awesome. I definitely appreciate you.